Hi guys, happy Tuesday. Chef Kevin Belton here. Now today I want to make you something that I had a craving for, lasagna. But instead of doing a traditional red lasagna, we're going to do a white Alfredo lasagna. Now here, I have butter in the pan, and what I want to start with, now the recipes I normally do call for 1 or 2 cloves of garlic, but today, both Monica and I love garlic. So I'm going to get a lot of garlic. That was about, I had about 8 cloves of garlic, okay? Now, I also have a sweet onion. And I started with butter in the pan, and I'm using a sweet onion. But that garlic, I only wanted that garlic in there just for a minute. It's already starting to smell, okay? So a little bit of sweet onion, just one nice sweet onion. And we're going to let this saute a little bit. And a lot of times I have to tell you guys, Monica comes up with ideas for me to come up with. She says, you know what I feel like? Well, this time I saw a picture of a lasagna and I'm like, ooh, that's what I've been craving. How about a little lasagna? Now, our onions are in the pan sauteing, but let me show you some of the other things we're going to put in. We're going to do some mushrooms, and I'm also going to do some spinach, but we're also going to put some chicken in this later on when we get there. Now, I have a little bit of dried oregano here. So I'm going to go ahead and put our dried oregano in as I'm sauteing down our onions. And our onions don't take too long to saute because we just want them to heat up to open up that flavor. You don't need them to caramelize. We just want them to, when they start to get a little bit translucent. Oh, I tell you what, the smell with the onions and the garlic and that oregano. Now, I used a dried oregano, but for everything else, I'm going to use a fresh oregano. So now let's get into our mushrooms. These are baby portobello mushrooms that I just sliced. Then I sliced them in half. You could use a button mushroom if you want. Come on, get in there. But I'm going to do the portobellos, and we just need these to cook down. So this is going to take a couple of minutes because we want these to cook down to get all the moisture out of these mushrooms. So this will just take a minute to where we can cook these down. Now you can see how much our mushrooms have softened down from cooking, and we want a lot of that moisture to cook out of those mushrooms, okay? So now it's time, let's add our spinach. Now, spinach cooks fairly quick, okay? This looks like a lot of spinach, but this is going to cook down to where it's very little. And this, oh, look at that piece trying to escape. Now, we haven't been using a lot of seasoning yet, but I'm going to put a little bit of salt here at this point with our spinach. And you're going to see just how quick this starts to wilt. Now, typically when you find spinach in a lasagna, it's always a white sauce. Now, some folks will make that bechamel sauce. We're basically using a little butter, a little flour, then you put in a little stock, then you add your cream to it, okay? But here, I just felt like an Alfredo. I've been craving an Alfredo, so I said, why not go ahead and let's make our lasagna with an Alfredo as opposed to that bechamel sauce. So come look how quick our spinach has cooked down, okay? All right, I'm gonna let this simmer for a few minutes, and when we come back, I'm gonna start putting in our heavy cream and get our cheeses in to make. I tell you what, it smells so good. Now it's time to, let's start putting the Alfredo. Okay, I know that was corny, all right? So here in our pan, we've sauteed down the garlic and the onions and the mushroom and the spinach. Now, I put in a little dried oregano, but now I'm going to do a little fresh basil. This is just fresh basil that I just gave a rough chop to, all right? And now let's get in our heavy cream. Yes, I am going to use heavy cream for this, okay? Now, also, here I want to season this. So we're going to do a little bit of salt. We're going to do a little bit of our Creole seasoning. Not too much. And we're also going to get in a little fresh cracked black pepper. All right. So now, oh, look at that. See how this is starting to heat up? Now we can get our cheeses into this because we don't need this to really boil, but we want it to heat up enough for the flavors to blend together. So now I have about 15 ounces of ricotta cheese. All right, we'll get our ricotta in. Oh, yeah. Doesn't that look good? I tell you what, gang, there's certain things that just seem to go together, you know? The ricotta, the garlic. I have a cup and a half of Parmesan. And this is just shredded Parmesan cheese. So let's get that Parmesan in there. And you can see how our cream is starting to really heat up, okay? Now, where we are here, I've done this before and have stopped it right at this point, okay? Once it heats up a little more. But today we're gonna do a chicken. Now, hey, you could do this with shrimp. You could, like I said, you could leave it just like this. But I took rotisserie chicken and I've basically just chopped it up, shredded it. So we're gonna get our rotisserie chicken in here that I think has a really, really nice flavor. All right. You can also, at this point, if you want, taste it. See how the saltiness is. Remember, you're gonna get a little salt from the cheeses, okay? That ricotta is a little savory, plus that Parmesan is a little savory. So we don't wanna oversalt it, we don't wanna overseason it. Also, if you like a little bite, go in with a little red pepper flakes, okay? Now, what I have here, I have a little parsley and I have a little green onion. I'm gonna put a touch in now, but once I start putting this together and layering it, I'm going to put more in between each layer, okay? So this is coming together really, really nice. Oh, look at this, gang. It's gotten nice and thick. It's creamy, all right? So I tell you what, I'm gonna get our pasta, and when we come back, I'll show you how I'm gonna put this together. So see you in a minute. Hi guys, we are ready to assemble. Now for this, I am going to use a fresh pasta sheet. Now, sometimes I do this with the no boil sheets, and that's fine. Because especially with this sauce, because it's so liquidy, that extra moisture in there will allow those to cook. Here, I just trimmed so it fits right in the pan. So what I'm going to start doing, in our pan, I'm going to put some of our sauce on the bottom, okay? We want to make sure we get some of this sauce on the bottom. Just spread that out really good. Now we can go with our sheets. And you will be able to see that I trimmed the sheets to where they'll fit in nice and snug. Now let's go with some more sauce. Now, I have to tell you something, gang. Normally we always use mozzarella cheese in something like this, okay? In our sauce we have the ricotta and we also have the Parmesan, all right? But here for the mozzarella, instead of doing a shredded mozzarella, because my lovely bride loves mozzarella, look at this, what we're gonna do. I'm gonna use a sliced mozzarella as opposed to shredded mozzarella. And we're just gonna put our slices of mozzarella in there. And yes, I'm missing a couple of slices because someone had to do a quality taste check, but that's okay, you know, right? The things we do for our loved ones. And remember, I told you I had a little fresh green onion and a little parsley. Let's sprinkle some in between, okay? Now, I'll just go ahead and keep building these layers up, all right? And then we'll be able to go into the oven, all right? I finally have it assembled. Now, if you're anything like me, you notice I filled it right up to the very, very top. So that's why I put it on a pan when it bakes, in case it goes over a little bit, but that's okay. Now, here's the thing. If you want to make this in advance, okay, make it in a disposable pan because you could wrap that up really good in clear wrap or foil and freeze it either before or after baking, okay? Just remember to take the foil off of it after you've frozen it to reheat it, okay? You can put it in with the foil on, but at some point, take that foil off so it can brown off on top. Now I have the oven preheating at 350 degrees. We're gonna go in until we get nice and golden brown on the top, which will roughly take 30 to 35 minutes. And if it doesn't brown that way, you can always stick it under the broiler. So this is gonna look so good. Wow, that cheese smells so good. And you can see why I set it on the pan. I always have a habit of filling things up too much. But look at that goodness, how it's run all around the sides. Now, on the top, I had done a little bit of the green onion and parsley on top. But look, here, we can take a little fresh parsley and put it over the top, all right, before we serve. I also have a little basil leaf here that we could take our basil leaf and stick it right down in the middle of that cheese for when we bring it to the table, all right? And you know, gang, make recipes yours, all right? I decided to make a lasagna, and I decided to do a spinach lasagna with chicken, and I made an Alfredo sauce because I felt like Alfredo. So instead of doing a traditional lasagna with the red sauce, I did the spinach chicken with an Alfredo sauce. And remember, change things up. Instead of using shredded mozzarella, because Monica loves mozzarella so much, that's why I used the sliced mozzarella put on top. That created a wonderful, wonderful top. So I hope you take this recipe, play with it. I really think this is going to be one of those recipes that you're going to make over and over and over, different ways for your family and friends. Hey, keep washing those hands, mask up. For WWR, I'm Chef Kevin Belton, and have a fantastic day.